It's Retro Podcast with your host, Retro Lion. We talk music, entertainment, films, and more. And now, here he is, live, Retro Lion. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to Retro Podcast. I am the host, Ben Cena, also known as the Retro Lion. And today we have Lou Hirsch from Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the BBC series My Hero. Lou, it's great to have you on Retro Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And you said you're from Florida, is that correct?
I'm not originally from Florida. I'm originally from New York. But I live in Florida now, but lived in London for 40 years.
Nice. And during your time living in London, was that during the shooting of My Hero, or was there something else before then?
Oh, long before that. I mean, in fact, had I not lived in London, I wouldn't have done Roger Rabbit, because Roger Rabbit was all shot in the UK.
Nice. Did they have like their own studio where they filmed it in?
They used oh geez, I can't remember the name of the studio now, because the studio is gone. It'll come to me. It was a studio in North London that they used. They shot all of the film except for about 2 minutes when Bob Hoskins is on the trolley, because they had to use a real trolley, which they had. I believe they had that trolley in San Francisco. But the rest of the entire film was shot in the UK. And what's strange about it is that I was actually I was in LA, go out there looking for work, and just sitting around on my hands because not a lot was going on. And my agent in London called me because I had done a television commercial in the UK for a US airline called Eastern Airlines, which is also defunct now. I had done one commercial and they wanted to do a second commercial. And my agent said to them, well, he's in LA. And they said, well, we can fly him back to London and do the commercial. We're an airline, we can do that. So my agent called and said, do you want to come back and do this commercial? And by that time, I'd been out in LA for about 3 or 4 months, just kind of spinning my wheels, and nothing was going on. So I said to my agent, yeah, I'll come back and do the commercial. And I said, you can tell him to make it a one-way ticket. So, because I had a flat in London that I owned, and I was paying rent on an apartment in LA. So I went back to London to do this television commercial, which was shot over 2 days or something like that. And the very next job I got was Roger Rabbit.
Nice.
And had I not been in London, it wouldn't have happened.
Very true. And Roger Rabbit is one of the greatest Disney half animated, half live action movies of all time.
That's nice of you to say so.
It's one of my favorites. It's my childhood movie. And in fact, I don't have the picture with me anymore, sadly, because before I had my own computer and had my own gear, when I was a kid, we all had to share a computer in the house that I grew up in. When I was a kid, we grew up in this one house and we all had to share one computer. And that computer had a virus. A virus hit that computer a while back and wiped out everything.
Gosh.
Sadly. But for Halloween, I was Bob Hoskins' character I was dressed as his character from the movie. I had a stuffed Roger Rabbit in my car. I still have the stuffed Roger Rabbit. He sits on my shelf with Disney memorabilia. And my dad built a cardboard box Benny taxi cab from the movie, and I wore suspenders and had it, I was walking around.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah,
it was fun. I even won first prize in this Halloween costume contest.
Well, when I went to audition for the film, I was actually originally seen to be playing one of the humans.
Really?
I'd gone in to read and met Robert Zemeckis and read this scene for him. he said, thanks very much. I left, went home, and it was long before the days of cell phones, because this was mid 1980s. And I could hear my phone ringing in my flat, and I lived in a top floor flat in London. I could hear the phone ringing, and so I ran up the stairs and got to the phone, and my agent said, "Oh, I've been ringing you for ages. Where have you been?" I said, "I'm just coming back from this interview that you sent me on." And she said, "Oh," she said, "Robert Zemeckis doesn't think you're right for any of the humans in the film, but he loves your voice. Do you want to voice the baby?" And I had never done anything like that before. And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So, because I knew nothing. I mean, I knew absolutely nothing about the film. I mean, when I was there auditioning, they showed me drawings of what the cartoons would look like and stuff like that. But I was being seen to play probably a very small walk-on speaking role as a human in the film, and everything just flipped around just on the drop of a dime. It just came out of the blue. And I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead, yeah."
And since Disney is bringing back a lot of characters, especially characters from like the olden days, and with Disney owning Marvel, and since they now own Fox as well, they're bringing back past Fox characters and past Marvel characters into the MCU with the multiverse. Has Disney reached out to you about bringing Baby Herman back, or not yet?
No. I mean, there was after we finished the film, and it was a couple of years after we finished the film, we did three little shorts, like 6-minute cartoons that went out in front of feature films, like in the old days in the 50s when they used to show a cartoon before the film. We did 3 of those. The first one was Tummy Trouble, and the second one was called I think it was Roller Coaster Rabbit was the second.
That's my favorite one.
And then there was another one called Trail Mix Up,
Mm-hmm.
where the Roger and the Baby appeared at the end of each one as our characters in the film. And after we did those 3, they had actually called my agent again, and they had said that they were thinking at that point they were thinking of Baby Herman having his own television series, which I thought, "Oh, that'll be nice," and so lots of phone calls and faxes went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and eventually they just stopped contacting us. I think they just decided that the cost of doing something like that was going to be prohibitive, and they just dropped the idea. So that was the end of that. And through the years, I've heard stories of they're going to make a sequel to it, or they're going to do this, they're going to do that. It's never come to fruition. And I'll be honest, I mean, even though I would be happy to do it, in a sense, I'm glad they haven't, because I think it stays as a classic on its own.
I'm with you on that.
And because a lot of times, any studio will make a successful film and then they'll do a sequel, and the sequel is never as good as the original.
Very true.
So in that sense, I'm kind of glad that they never tried to make a sequel. I mean, they obviously things would have to be drastically different because Bob Hoskins is no longer with us, and the whole story would have to change. I'm sure that they could think of something to do, but they've never approached me. So, and I mean, even though I've heard rumors from all sorts of different places, but never from Disney themselves. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no sequel, there's no spin-off, there's no nothing, and that's okay.
And there's a Roger Rabbit ride in Disneyland. Have you been to Disneyland to been on that ride, or have you been to Disney World?
No, I'm not. No, I haven't been out to I've been out to California for a very, very long time. I didn't even know that that ride still existed out there. Maybe it does. I mean, I don't know. Because because the film was such a long time ago, I don't know whether they keep that ride going or not. I'd have to Google it and see if it was still around. But I was not part of any of that. If Baby Herman is part of that ride, they didn't ask me to voice any of it, so I don't know.
There's in Disney's Hollywood Studios, they still have a giant billboard of Roger Rabbit and Baby Herman and Jessica Rabbit on the billboard in Hollywood Studios. And what part of Florida are you currently based in?
I'm on, so I'm on the East Coast, kind of couple of hours north of Miami.
Nice.
Sitting here expecting the next hurricane. I was just looking. Apparently, this hurricane that's out in the Gulf, they've just upgraded it to a Category 5.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the West Coast is going to get it a lot worse than we are, but we're in for some rain. I think they're saying we possibly get 5 to 8 inches of rain. So not looking forward to that. So
yeah, I have family in Florida that I worry about the most, and it's funny. Me and my parents and brother, we're actually coming to Florida for Christmas this year. We're going to go to Disney World for Christmas.
All right, and where are you located?
Ohio.
Oh, you're in Ohio. Okay.
Yeah. And
don't come during hurricane season.
Yes, yeah, that's what we've learned because Lou, a couple of years ago, we came for Halloween and it rained. I mean, we still had a blast. We got to go on all the rides. We didn't have to wait in lines, which was fantastic. But we were soaked by by the end of the trip.
I can imagine. This one that's on the way doesn't look like it's very. I mean, yesterday they were saying, "Oh, it's Category 1," and then all of a sudden, overnight, it's just developed a lot of strength, and now it's gonna, it's gonna be a dangerous storm. And I have one of my friend's sons lives in Tampa, and that looks like where this one is heading. So, pretty dangerous stuff, but.
Yeah. It was definitely ponchos, sandals, and
no, I'm just going to hunker down.
And a question about Florida is that how often do you see alligators?
Oh, every once in a while, there's a lake at the back of my house. I mean, I've been here. I moved back from the UK about 7 years ago. And all the lakes where I live are all man-made, but they're connected to proper seawater and everything. And but I've only ever seen one alligator.
Really?
In the 7 years, but I've heard them. I mean, I've heard them like at night sometimes, especially like during breeding season. You hear the little babies making noise and stuff like that. It's I don't go anywhere near the water, and there's signs up in front around every lake, so alligator warning. So and no fishing and all that kind of stuff. So
hey, I'd be scared. I have a phobia of alligators.
Well, no, I don't. They got here before us, so I mean, this is their place. So but they managed to find a way. And apparently people have seen like otters around here. There's like because there's lots of fish in the lake and stuff like that. So
very true.
It's nice. I mean, when Florida is beautiful, it's beautiful. But when it's bad, it's bad.
Sure. And speaking about the UK, what were your favorite memories getting to work on the series My Hero? And you also got to be a superhero in My Hero as well.
Yeah. My Hero was one of the most fun jobs I ever did. The chap that was one of the producers and directed all the episodes was a lovely man by the name of John Stroud, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. But I had actually worked with him once before, about 20 years earlier. I had done one episode of a comedy series with a young actress at the time. Her name was Charlotte Coleman, who was a very good young actress. And Jim Carter and I played the heavies in this one episode. And Jim Carter's gone on to do lots of wonderful things. I did this one episode, and then 20 years later, I got called for this audition, and I walked into the audition, and I just said, "Well, John, we've come full circle, haven't we?" And he said, "Yeah." And I kind of knew I had the job as soon as I sat down, because it was just one of those kinds of characters that just was almost written for me, even though it wasn't actually written for me, but it kind of fell in my lap, And I had a lot of fun doing it, and we did a pilot for the series with a different guy playing the lead character. And it wasn't Ardal O'Hanlon, who eventually wound up playing the main character. It was an Australian actor by the name of Craig McLachlan. We did a pilot for the series, and I didn't hear anything for it. Just went, and I didn't hear anything. 6 months later, all of a sudden, I'm in a car driving towards the west coast of England to get on a ferry to go to a wedding in Ireland, and my agent called me on my cell phone to say the series is going to go ahead. But that it wasn't Craig McLachlan, it was Ardal O'Hanlon, and this and this and this, and they want you there for rehearsal on such and such a day. And I said, "Well, I'm on my way to Ireland." They said, "Well, they'll pay for you to come back, So they flew me back, and I turned up at the first read through of the first episode with my suitcases. I didn't even have time to go home. I went from the airport right to the rehearsal room, just had a great time doing the show. I mean, there's a bunch of great people to work with. We did 6 series of My Hero. I did every episode but one. For some strange reason, they didn't write me into one episode. I don't know why. And every year they renewed it. Every year the BBC renewed it was just a bonus, And it was, and what was nice was that it didn't take that much time out of the year. So it took us about 3 months to do 12 episodes, and then we had the rest of the year to do whatever we wanted. So it allowed me to go off and do theater, and because my passion was always theater. I love doing live theater. There's an old saying in the business, and I don't know whether it's an American saying, but I know it's an English saying. You say you do theater for love and telly for money. And that's kind of the way it is. But I had a great time doing My Hero, and in the 6 years that we did the show, amongst the cast, not a bad word was spoken amongst any of us. We all got along really, really well. There was no ego. There was no bad feeling amongst anyone. We just had a lot of fun doing the show, and we did it in front of a studio audience every week. And I made a lot of money out of the show because they used to have a show on UK TV, and I think they had it on here as well, which was called TV's Naughtiest Blunders, and they used to show outtakes. So like years earlier from when I was doing My Hero, I had done a drama series with in the early 1980s. And I always remember, am I allowed to swear?
You can swear.
Yeah. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy. His name was Ray Smith. And he said to me, he said, if you're ever not happy with a take and they haven't stopped it, or you feel like you flubbed it, he said, just say, he said, they have to stop. They have to stop recording, right? And they have to do the scene again. So I just kind of got in the habit of doing that all through my career, whatever I was doing, even if I was doing radio, if I made a mistake, I would swear. And so when we did My Hero, if I made a mistake, I would swear like a trooper. And audiences love that. Even when the studio audiences come to see studio shows because they like watching the actors make mistakes. That's what they come for. It's like, you know, but the fun, and so they did this show. They did this spin-off called TV's Naughtiest Blunders that I was on all the time because they were using outtakes for me making mistakes in My Hero. And one of the bonuses was if you were in the scene with whoever was making the mistake and swore, you got paid too. So there was a couple of times Emily Joyce, who played the lead female role in the show, you know, I'd be doing a scene with her and I'd make a mistake and I'd swear and she'd just sit there and go, ka-ching. She knew that we were both going to get money from outtakes. You know? But it was great fun, and I enjoyed doing it. And every once in a while, I still get money on repeat checks and stuff, which is, you know, just a little extra pin money and stuff. You know, I wish they would repeat it on the BBC again, because that would pay me a lot of money. But they, for some strange reason, won't repeat it on the BBC. So don't know why. Don't know why.
Yeah. Hey, I swear too, but just never in front of the women.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you know My Hero?
So
being from
Nana,
Ohio.
my Nana's from the UK. She's British, and I grew up watching a lot of BBC shows, and that was one of them that I got.
Right, because I know they showed it on BBC America here.
That was back when we had cable. Because I never had cable. Recently, I actually just moved back in because I lived with my parents for a while, then I moved out for only a short period of time, then I moved back in. I recently just moved back in with my grandparents because I knew this was going to happen. I just didn't know when. But whoever was to go first, I would have to move in and take care of the other one. But now I have to move in to take care of both of them because they're both in their early 90s and they need some help around the house. And I do a lot of work from home anyway, so it makes things easier. But I'm actually going to come to the UK next year to do a short film, and was really hoping to bring them with me so they could visit one last time. But the thing is, they really want to travel to the UK, but they're afraid to travel at the same time because we went on a cruise last year to Canada, and they got COVID on the cruise.
Gosh,
they couldn't do anything. The first week they were fine, but then the second week they got it, but they just don't want to have to get sick again, which I fully understand.
Yeah, I can understand that. Also, traveling that distance is a long ways for somebody that age to go. Plus the fact that I don't think that at that age they'd be able to get travel insurance.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think many. I mean, you might find one, but the premiums would be off the scale probably.
Oh yes.
Because my whole reason for being in England originally was that I went to drama school in the UK. I'd been to University of Miami, and then when I finished the University of Miami, I had one professor who was a mentor to me, who had said to me, because everybody else was planning to go to LA, and my professor at the university said, if you really want to get a good grounding in the theater, he said, go to drama school in England. So I applied to go to drama school in England, and I got accepted to one of the top schools in the UK, where they only take 30 kids a year, and tens of thousands apply, and I got one of 30 places at my drama school, and spent 3 years in drama school there. I had a great time. I still am in touch with a lot of them. In fact, we do a Zoom call once a week with 4 or 5 of them. And one of my friends that I was at drama school with was a young lady by the name of Marina Sirtis, who was in Star Trek Next Generation.
Nice.
She played Deanna Troi in the Star Trek Next Generation series, and she's British. She's from Tottenham in London, and she had gone to LA to look for work, and she was knocking around. Apparently, she had one audition to go to, and it was Star Trek, and she got the gig, and it changed her life. That was just very, very lucky, very, very lucky. But also, I'm in good company in my drama school. Ewan McGregor went to my drama school. Daniel Craig went to my drama school. Alfred Molina, lots of good people. So I'm in good company. Yeah.
What you just described right there, it's like Star Wars meets Marvel almost.
Yeah.
And Lou, we are coming down to the end of the interview. We have 5 minutes left of the interview. And what is the best advice you would pass on to people that want to go into acting?
Gosh. If you have a passion for it, go for it. Be prepared to get told no most of the time. And if you can try and get some formal training, go ahead and try to do that. I certainly don't regret my 3 years of drama school, but I also studied with Lee Strasberg in New York for about 6 months, and I hated it because I didn't like working with him. He and I we didn't get along, and his classes were so big. If he gave you a note about something, he couldn't remember what he told you the time before. I kind of got him when he was a bit too old, I think he was kind of just doing it for the money by then. I don't regret doing it, but it spurred me to try to go to drama school in the UK. So I would just say, pursue your passion. Just be prepared for a lot of hard knocks. There is sometimes there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes it's another train coming. So just got to look out for that. But that was a heavy question they asked me towards the end. You really caught me off guard.
It's one of the important questions for the end of the interview is we ask guests what advice you pass on those to help future artists or artists that want to go into the field, inspire them to help them go into.
Okay, I noticed actually because I went and looked on you that you did one of these podcasts with Kevin McNally.
Yes, that is very true. That's who I'm doing the short film with.
All right, well, send in my regards because he and I know each other from a long time ago. And we're friends on Facebook, and I was a regular in a television series shot in the UK, which was called We'll Meet Again, which was about the American Air Force that was stationed in the UK in World War II. And Kevin did one episode of that, and that's when we met.
Nice.
That's when we became friends, and that's going back 42 years ago now. So
my mind just went Baby Herman meets Joshua Gibbs.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, in the short
send in my regards.
In the short film that I pitched to him a while back, I'm really hoping he's still able to. So it's actually a proof of concept, and it's based on a book that I have coming out in a couple months called Night at North Pole, and he's playing Santa Claus in the North, and it's Santa Claus fights zombie reindeer, and so this is actually a proof of concept, and we're hoping to submit it to a studio, hoping a studio would buy it and then turn it into
good luck. I hope you get a green light for it.
Yes, and if you want, I'll send you a free copy of the comic book when it comes out. It comes out December 5th.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lou, thank you again for this interview. It's an honor to meet you. I've been a Roger Rabbit fan ever since I was a kid, and this was fun. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks a lot, Ben. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify and follow us on Instagram. See you next week.